Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to the Noisy Library. This collection of great works exists as a rejection of that outdated concept, the nice quiet read, which we have consigned to the Venerable Bede's monastic wheelie bin. Every day scores of citizens flood through these doors, select a book of their choice and begin to give vociferous voice, which is why I'm using this microphone, otherwise you couldn't possibly make yourself heard above the cacophony of the bellowed as opposed to the spoken word. In this establishment, the staff don't say shush, they yell, "Oi, mush! Here's a first edition of Francis Bacon's Advancement of Learning. Start turning the pages, try to look a bit more cheerful, and give us an earful." We don't want tedious academic wusses creeping around browsing. We want dossers lurching in, carousing, spreading their beer bellies all over the philosophy shelves, and really letting themselves go on Jean-Paul Sartre and Aristotle, in between swigs from the tequila bottle thoughtfully provided by the senior archivist, who is himself more or less permanently inebriated. Within a few feet of where I'm standing, about 40 individuals are ranting away perfectly happily from a variety of titles. My trained ear can detect recitals from Shakespeare, Homer, Orwell, Shelley, and somebody seems to be giving particular verbal welly to the unexpurgated version of Lady Chatterley. That'll be the Archbishop. He pops in every Saturday. And on the occasion when some eccentric actually wants to take a book home, our Miss Newcomb headbutts the borrower with her date-stamped forehead, which you might think rather horrid, but she's got a 100% record behind her. In 37 years, she's never had to issue a single second reminder, which completes our tour. Any questions? Lady over there beside the potted palms, banned books. We never stock. All quiet on the Western Front. Or Silence of the Lambs. Thank you very much. Okay, still lovely for October in Cheltenham, isn't it? Not a bad summer altogether. Was your nice Greek holiday anything like this? They don't make deities like they used to. Supreme beings enthroned on Olympian heights, chucking lightning bolts at one another in a series of superhuman fights. Modern Greece is full of timeshare Poseidons, and Club 18 to 30 wannabe immortals crashed out in air-conditioned en-suites, or scuttling beachwards through the portals of the Agamemnon Seaside Pub Cafe at the start of another lotus-eating day. Gods on foot, on bikes, in motors, Volvos, Yamahas, Toyotas, gods in Reeboks, gods in Naf-Naf, gods in shorts that would make a horse laugh, gods with muscles, handsome, bronzed, imposing pouches with leather thongs, gods deprived of abs and pecs, pallid, shy of the opposite sex, gods with shades and ghetto blasters, sad sartorial disasters in premiership last season stripped with lime green bum bags at their hips, gods in hatchbacks, gods in pickups, gods in hiccups from too much nectar the previous night, gods who cannot stand the sight of ambrosia in any form, gods who welcomed over the dawn, kneeling over a toilet bowl in the Miramar or the Metropole, praying for the release of pain from the unabsolving porcelain. And of course there are hundreds of latter-day Aphrodites, Phoebes and Pandoras to be spotted. Just take a nonchalant walk along the shoreline and there they are, dotted about all over the place with worshipful arms and legs and rows of shivering breasts like gently poaching eggs. Goddesses in various stages of undress, some quite outrageous, some demure, the prudent goddess clad in something really modest. Goddesses who mix and match in Calvin Klein, Monsoon, Versace. Goddesses in Fruit of the Loom competing hard for elbow room with goddesses in kit endorsed by Nike, Levi and Lacoste. Goddesses who are having trouble remembering the stud in designer Stubble who drove them home after happy hour last night in his sleek and snazzy car, took a detour through the citrus farm, switched off the engine, switched on the charm, turned more than a trifle frolicsome, and did something she's not going to tell her mum. And when night falls, the cafe floor trembles to the clatter of celestial feet, as kebab-filled divinities boogie on down to the bouzouki beat, Zeus in boots and Pan in a paisley cardigan, attempting to score on the dance floor with Demeter from Dunstable and a Welsh woman police constable named Athene in an arresting bikini, Hermes from Hackney Wick romancing Hera from Wick with acne, Eros from Jarrow firing an arrow at a healthy miss from Hammersmith called Artemis, Apollo following the daughter of a slaughterer from Bolton on the Water, Brits abroad and feeling fine, prancing, dancing, slurping wine, deified, immortalized under clear Aegean skies. Thank you. There's at least one child here, so I'll do my only children's poem. Our Our class teacher, Mr. Pratt, was thin this morning, then got fat. All because his darling wife, for the first time in her life, forgot to give him food before she kicked him out of their front door. So Mr. Pratt arrived at school feeling the opposite of full, found a kid at the playground gate, told him off for being late, said, "What's your name?" The lad said, "Tim." And our class teacher swallowed him. So Tim was down in teacher's tummy, hollering and yelling for his mummy, and teacher thought, "I'll have another," and promptly swallowed Tim's twin brother, followed by Vanessa May, Parmjit Danda, Kylie Gray, the Hardy sisters, Winston Green, and some young kid I've never seen in Mr. Pratt found in the passage, bringing him an important message from the headmaster. Then he ate the window cleaner and his mate. So Mr. Pratt got fatter, but down in his enormous gut all the people that he'd eaten were holding an emergency meeting and choosing an escape committee, commanded by a clever kiddie who bored a hole in the belly button of Mr. Pratt, the cannibal glutton. He hollered to his friends outside, "I've got a plan, don't run and hide, stand still and let him catch you. Quick, we got to make our teacher sick." So all the children formed a queue and Mr. Pratt yelled out, "You and you and you," and soon the fools scoffed all the kiddies in the school. Most people know that if you fill your tongue too full, you just get ill. Well, on the stroke of 1 o'clock, Mr. Pratt went, "Yuck!" and out flew a whole multitude of children, totally unchewed, plus window cleaners. Which means, why, Mr. Pratt is thin again. Thank you. Right, a little bit of history for which we have to go back the better part of 2,000 years in time and up to the English-Scottish border. Ave, Petrus, Poeticus, Wytonus, Roman soldier, 6th Legion, never served in a colder region. I guard this wall, which was built, they say, to keep the Picts and the Scots away. I've never seen one, it's quiet here, and it's Saturn's night, and I fancy a beer, but I'm off downtown. But I need some money. To get it, I have to use this funny contraption here in the wall itself, a mosaic set in a little shelf. You take your very own personal pin to this orifice, and you stab it in. Then you tap the tiles with your numbers, see? I, V. And sesterci and denarii come tumbling out most plentifully. Let's hear it for Hadrian's hole in the wall. The greatest Roman invention of all. I'm off to behave with a total lack of decorum in the forum. Hang on a minute, there's a queue for this gadget, and I'm the first in it. I said, don't push, mush. Oops. Approximately MCDCL XXX barbarians. Mud-covered, woad-smothered, great big airy ones. With my trusty shield, I shall not yield. With my valiant sword, I defy the horde. Tell them at home, tell them in Rome, I fight. I am wounded. I stagger. I fall, metaphorically speaking, defending Hadrian's hole in the wall. Thank you. Okay, in contrast to history, let's come right up to date with something about science, which mixes up curiously with the royal family. Brian, the scientist's dining room table is covered in stuff, so his wife is unable to lay it for dinner. She volubly remonstrates. Brian's replying he's trying to demonstrate using a number of kitchen utensils, his daughters play people and hundreds of pencils to prove he could move Windsor Castle without any hassle along the M4 corridor to a much nicer spot in the glorious Cotswolds. So handy for weekends with Andy and Eddie, and the rest of the royals are down there already. He thinks that the Queen would be chuffed when she'd seen her abode on the road passing Binfield and Shinfield and Reading, heading away with a fond cheerio from the rumble of jumbos approaching Heathrow, not to mention the stench from the feet of the pupils of Eton. Sadly, this notion engenders commotion deep in the heart of his trouble and strife, who thinks it's a tragedy shunting Her Majesty out of the place where she's lived all her life. Without hesitation, the nuptial relation of Brian the scientist seizes a broom, stigmatizes the prototype as a right load of tripe, fills a black bin bag, and exits the room, leaving Brian the scientist largely decrying this monstrous assault on the fruits of his brain. Concise calculation, precise preparation, the physics alone would take years to maintain. That's the trouble with genius. Knowledge is meaningless to the majority. We never go in a laboratory. All the great thinkers, Ptolemy, Edison, the slingshots of public opinion, they said that Marconi was totally phony. They reckoned Charles Darwin would go straight to hell to burn with Copernicus, Newton, Pythagoras, Einstein, and Isambard Kingdom Brunel. But knowledge is power. Cometh the hour, cometh Brian the scientist, mathematician, physician, technician, whose lifetime ambitions achieved in improving human condition, despite whines from the Philistines, knockers and mockers, believers in fables and layers of tables. Though his works be neglected, his patents rejected, Brian the scientist found to keep trying. Thank you. I sell this book, which is called Not All Men Are From Mars, in support of the national charity Women's Aid, which helps women and their children who suffer domestic violence in their home. One or two of the poems in it aren't suitable for an enjoyable day like this, but this isn't a bad one. Two people very much in love, and the only fly in their domestic ointment is their incompatible working hours, which is why the poem is called Keeping in Touch. When shift duties made conversation impracticable, she a paramedic, he a traffic cop, they communicated via fridge magnet. Friday, 9 AM, dental checks, pay milk, get cat food, forgot, you get it. Messages sometimes veered away from the mundane. He'd proposition her in mock Shakespearean. I'll tuck thee this night, diminutive strumpet. She'd respond in fluent gangster, wake me and your history, you big palooka. For her birthday he concocted a love letter, 25 wobbly lines long, ending in the lament, not enough X's. 3 nights later she eased him from the shadow of his shattered squad, rushed him to casualty, came home and knelt before their cold white altar, wiped off all previous graffiti, laboured until the sun came up, fashioning the mantra, don't leave me. Don't leave me, don't leave me, don't leave me, from top to bottom of the pristine door. Word reached her by mobile. 3 hours later, just as she left the joke shop in the precinct, having bought 10 new complete accent alphabets just for the X's. Thank you. Okay, last one from me. As you will notice, I'm quite fond of history. But time's a wasting and we need to get other people on here, so I'm going to combine my liking of history with a short poem. It is in fact a history of the entire world in under 3 minutes. Precambrian, Paleozoic, Mesozoic eras encompassing literally billions of years, enlivened by daily volcanoes, earthquakes, colliding and separating tectonic plates, nitrogen and methane belching from all parts of the globe like intercontinental ballistic farts. Gradual evolution of organisms, algae, bacteria, fungi and fish, developing into dinosaurs in the Cretaceous and Jurassic periods, voracious beasts who ate either each other or indigestible grasses, accounting for their noxious and exceedingly megasaur arses, which probably led to their extinction if they weren't wiped out pre-our age by a meteor in the first recorded instance of galactic road rage, following which both polar ice caps in a series of unprecedented cold snaps attempted to meet one another at the equator, but couldn't quite manage it, and sometime later, once they had melted, Homo sapiens, happy end. Then we arrive at the Stone Age, the Bone Age, the indescribably ugly Crone Age, and the breed of cave dweller who decorated his walls with portraits of nomads with hideously exaggerated gonads, which archaeologists would have us believe means anything from something that I have forgotten. But in the meantime, there were Romans, Vikings, Angles and Saxons to be exhibited, each with their newfangled language, though they all had the same basic message, to wit: if you don't want this sword ramming up your back passage, give me your land, your livestock, your money, your wife, and I might just permit you to continue your appallingly poverty-stricken life. P.S. Welcome to the feudal system, the Middle Ages, horrid knuckle in the presence of barons, and minimum wages, the sole alternative to which is outlawry, bog-trotting and being chased from butthole to breakfast by the Sheriff of Nottingham. Thus, in this green and peasant land was invented democracy, which stupid foreigners sometimes got mixed up with autocracy, especially when we began to play away matches, winning with ease at Cressy, Agincourt, Ramillies, Trafalgar, Blenheim, Aboukir, the Nile, and all stations to Waterloo. Change here for the Hanover line, calling it George the Fat, George the Fatter, George the Mad as a completely mad hatter, terminating in Victoria, following whose death the fashion for world domination appeared to become boring. We lost all our colonies, stopped scoring at football and cricket, but while the rest of the population turned into couch potatoes watching Neighbours and Home and Away, here in Cheltenham, folk still turn out for good grammatical poetry, like what we have heard today. Thank you very much and good day, folks.